This is a portfolio website that I made for myself using Flutter. And on this site, you're able to read about my specialization. You can also visit my YouTube channel straight from this website. There's a button that links to the channel. And you can also see the services that I offer and send me an email straight from the website if you are interested in my services. If you resize the window, this is what happens to the website. You can see that the elements on screen rearrange themselves. So let's go ahead and check out what it would look like on a mobile device. And there we have it. So that is the specialization information and everything else on the website. I'll walk you through how to build this website from start to finish. Welcome. If you're new here, this is the Flutter Coach. So we start off with a blank VS Code window. We go ahead and open the folder that I have created specifically for this project. And then through the terminal, we're going to create a new Flutter project, and we're going to call it Portfolio App. We'll go to the main.file and make some changes here, mostly to get rid of things that we don't need. We'll change the title first to Portfolio. We'll remove this theme because we're going to create our own custom theme. We're going to set this flag to false because we don't want that debug banner showing up on the top right corner of the page, of the app rather. Then we get rid of everything else. We'll change the device to Chrome because we are going to be running it on Chrome browser. So let's go ahead and create a folder called images, and we're going to put all the images that we're going to need for this app in this folder. Well, most of the images except the favicon. So go ahead and copy paste them into this folder. And then I'll go and fetch the image that I want to use as the favicon. I'll go to the web folder in the project, paste it here, get rid of the original favicon, then rename my image to favicon, and that will get picked up as the favicon for the project. Right, so let's go to pubspec.yaml and uncomment this line here and make sure we have a line that points to the images folder, and that will make sure that we're able to use the images in our project. So first, let's create our theme file. We'll call it theme.dat, and of course we have to import material.dat, and we're going to create the custom theme, or we're going to create custom theme, which is what we're going to use as our theme in the main.dat file. So our seed color will be green. For the dialogues, we'll have the surface tint being transparent. I don't want any tint color on the dialogues. And we're going to have title medium in the text theme. So this is one of the text themes that we're going to use. And for that, font size will be 18, font weight will be bold. For title, small. We will have a font size of 16 and a font weight of bold. For the elevated buttons, we'll also have a theme. Surface tint will be transparent as well. That's for all states of the button. We're going to have an elevation of 10, so you'll notice that our buttons will appear more raised than usual. So let's go to the main.dat file and import this theme file at the top. And then in the material app, we're going to set a custom theme, which we just created as our theme. So next, we will create our home page. At the top, we'll have our material import. And then for the page itself, we will have a stateless widget. Nothing fancy in the construct of the page. We go straight to the build method. We're going to have a scaffold with background color, which is the deep gray color that you saw when I demonstrated the website in the beginning of the video. And then for the body, we will have everything centered. So we'll have a center widget, inside of which we'll have a single child scroll view, because we're going to have a column which we want to be able to scroll through. So now let's create the items that are going to be inside this column, and we will start with the hero section. So we'll have this in a separate file, inside the sections folder. The hero section will also be a stateless widget. Nothing fancy in the constructor. We go straight to a function that we are going to use to send an email. So we're going to call this function launch email, and we will need a package for this. So let me show you this package on pub.dev. It's called URL_launcher. So this is the package. We're going to go ahead and open the terminal and install it in our project through the terminal. So first we change the directory of the folder to portfolio app, and then we use the pub add command to get URL launcher installed in our project. And there we have it. Our package is now installed. We can go to the pubspec.yml file and scroll to the dependencies section, and there we have our package listed. So at the top of the hero file, we import URL launcher.dat. We're using a try-catch block, by the way, to launch the email or to open whichever the default email app is on the device that we're using, because we want to handle any errors. So inside the catch block, you can do whatever kind of error handling you want to do. We'll also have this second function, which is the launch link function. It just takes a string, which is the link we're going to give this function. It passes it into a URI, and then it opens a new tab for that link. Then now we go to the build method. We're using a constrained box because we want to give this section a maximum width of 450 pixels. So if our device screen is larger than 450 pixels, our section will not go beyond the 450 pixels. So inside of this constraint box, we will have a padding widget so that we have space all around of 30 pixels. Then the child of this padding widget will be a stack widget, and everything will be aligned to the bottom center. So at the bottom, we are going to have a row. At the bottom of this stack will be a row widget. Main axis alignment set to end, so that given that our text direction is left to right, so our items in this row will start being aligned from the right towards the left. And inside this row, we will have a container with a shadow. So you can see the box shadow property inside the decoration property. So the child of this container will be our portrait image from our images folder. We're also going to have another row inside this stack, and this row will have a container with a width of 250 pixels. We'll give it a color, which is green, but then it will be partially transparent. You can see that in the color property, we have 0x99. So the 99 means that the color will not be 100%. We'll have some transparency in it. We'll also have a rounded corners for this container. The child of this container will be a padding widget all around will be 20 pixels worth of padding, and the child of this padding widget will be a column. We'll set everything to start from the left inside this column. That's why we have the cross-axis alignment set to start. So we'll have text that says TheFlutterCoach. It will be white in color. Then we'll have a sized box for spacing. Then we will have more text that says certified developer. It will also be white in color, and its font size will be 18. Its font weight will be bold, just like the text above it. So we'll have another sized box for spacing, vertical spacing. Then we'll have an elevated button, and the child of this button will be a row. Okay, we are setting its main axis size to minimum so that the row takes up just the amount of space that it needs for its children, which will be first an email icon, then a sized box for spacing, and then text that says email. And when pressed, we will show a dialog. This dialog specifically will be an alert dialog, which is that small dialog that pops up to give you information in an application, or yes, in an application. I wanted to say, or on our website. Just remember that our website in this case really is a web app, which is, an application. Anyway, so the content of this alert dialog will be our email, which someone can copy. That's why we're using the selectable text widget. So the email is info@TheFlutterCoach.com. And in the action section of the alert dialog, we have an elevated button that says go. And when pressed, it launches the email using the function we created at the top of this file. We also have another button to cancel this dialog if you change your mind, or if the user using this web app changes their mind about sending an email. After that email button, we'll have a sized box for spacing with a height of 10 pixels, and then we will have another elevated button. So it's pretty much the same as the email button. It's just that this time we are having a different icon, which is the play icon inside a circle. And the text says YouTube. And when pressed, we're going to use the launch link function that we created at the top of this file to launch the link to, in this case, my YouTube channel. So that's it for the hero section. We go over to the main.file file and import the homepage at the top and set homepage as home in our material app. But now, since we need content for this homepage, we're going to go to the homepage itself, import the hero file at the top, and then inside the column, we're going to have first a sized box for spacing at the top, and then the hero section. So let's run this up and see what we have so far. You can see, first of all, at the top, we have our favicon. Then we have, our content in the homepage. We're able to launch the default mail application on my computer in this case. And we're also able to visit my YouTube channel straight from this page. Let's just pause for a second. I hope you're loving what you're seeing so far. If you are, then please smash that sub button and give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might find it useful as well. Let's continue. So let's resize this window and move it out of the way because we want to see the code. Right, so off to the right goes the window. Then we create another file for the specialties section. The top, of course, we'll have our material.dat import. Then we'll have a stateless class for the specialties card, which will show up below the heroes section. Nothing fancy in the constructor. We'll go straight to the build method. For this, we'll have a card widget, which is no surprise. I mean, this is the specialties card. So the elevation of this card will be 10. You'll see that it will be substantially raised. We'll give it a margin all round of 30 pixels and set its surface tint color to transparent because we don't want any color on top. Just want to have it in plain white. The child of this card widget will be a padding widget with an all-round padding of 30 pixels, and its child will be a column widget. And here is where we'll have the content of the card. At the top, we'll have a sized box for spacing, then some selectable text that says full stack development capability. So let's first of all sort out these windows. Just have them side by side so that we're able to see both the code and the app without them interfering with each other. Good, that's sorted. The style of that text, as you have seen, is from the theme that we created earlier. Then below this text, we're going to have another sized box for spacing, and then we'll use a grid to display a number of logos. So as you can see in the grid delegate, we will have a fixed cross-axis count. So we'll have a maximum, not even a maximum, specifically 2 items running across this grid. Then we will make it not scrollable from the physics property, as you can see, because if it's scrollable on a mobile device, I noticed that it affects how we navigate the page. The grid itself starts getting scrolled instead of the page itself. So we will have two images for the Flutter logo and for the Node.js logo inside this grid. Then move on to first a sized box, of course, for spacing below the grid. Then we will have an elevated button. So this button will have text on it that says specialization, and this is what we're going to use to read more about my specialization in this case, or whatever information you want the user of the website to read more about. So when this button is pressed, we will show a dialog, and this time we are returning a dialog, unlike last time where we had an alert dialog. So this dialog will be much bigger. The child of this dialog will be a constraint box. We want it to occupy maximum 700 pixels across, regardless of how big the device is. The child of this constraint box will be a stack widget, and its child will be a single child scroll view, whose child will be a specialties info widget, which we haven't yet created, but we're going to create that just now. Then on top of this specialties info widget in this stack, we'll have an align widget, inside of which we will have our close button. So let's go to this specialties info widget. We'll have it as a stateless widget class with nothing. I have used the word fancy quite a lot by this point, but yes, nothing fancy in the constructor, meaning no parameters. We're not passing anything into the constructor of this specialties info widget. So inside the build method, we will return a padding widget, all-round padding of 30 pixels. The child of this padding widget will be a column with the cross-axis alignment property set to start, meaning we are aligning everything to start from the left edge of the column. First, inside this column will be a selectable text widget that says specialization. If you have been following along thus far, you have noticed that I have used the selectable text widget quite a lot. And this is to allow the user of the website to copy in any information that they would like to copy from the website. So let's go on. We have a text widget, selectable text widget, that talks about what draws me to Flutter, right? It's a question. And here we're using a text theme from the theme that we created. There is quite a lot of text inside of these selectable text widgets, so I am not showing all the text as a code, but you will see this text when we run the app. So more text about why I love to use Flutter. And also I do recommend Flutter, by the way, if you're looking for a framework to use to develop your apps. Flutter is excellent. So let's move on to Node.js, which I use for backend development. And let's talk a bit about it in this section. Yes, typo right there. I love Node.js. I did not catch that typo when I was coding this. So yes, that should say I love Node.js for backend development, because another typo. I must have been rushing at this point. Anyway, that is it for the specialties section. Let's go to our homepage, and we're going to have all these cards inside a wrap widget. And the wrap widget will allow these cards to rearrange themselves depending on the size of the device screen that the web app is running on. So first, inside of this wrap widget, we'll have a constraint box whose child will be our specialties card. So let's reload or hot reload this up, and right there you can see their specialties card. This is what it looks like when we go full screen, and we can see our specialization information right there. So let's again get these windows side by side, and yeah, that's the card with the dialog for more information. It's me again with Sabask. If you are finding this video helpful, well, you know what to do. Please go ahead and do it. Thanks. Moving on to the tutorials section. Don't know if you can hear that, but there is some construction going on right outside. Hopefully that does not mess up the audio too much. So inside this file, we will need the URL launcher because we will be visiting our YouTube channel from this page. So first, we create the tutorials card widget, which will be similar to the card you're seeing on the app right now, the card where we have the logos for Flutter and Node.js. So we'll have a card similar to the card we created in the Specialties file. So this is similar to what we had on the other side, but now we have 60 plus coding tutorial videos on YouTube as the quote-unquote title of this card. And we're using the title medium theme that we created in the theme file. So below that title, we'll have a sized box for spacing. And then this time, since we're only using one image, or we're only having one image in the card, we're not going to use a grid. We'll just have the image, which is the YouTube logo image inside the card. Then after that, we have a sized box for vertical spacing, and then move on to the elevated button, which will allow us to read more about the tutorials that I make. So inside this button, we'll have text that says tutorials, then we'll have spacing, horizontal spacing, and then an icon, which is the expand _ circle _ down icon. And when pressed, this button shows a dialog, which is a dialog just like we had with the Specialties card. So we will have a maximum width of 700 pixels for the constraint box, which is the child of this dialog. And inside this constraint box, we'll have a stack. The first child will be the tutorials info widget, which we will create, and that will be inside a single child scroll view. And the reason we're putting it inside a single child scroll view is in case we have a lot of information, we want the content to be scrollable. Then of course, on top of that, we'll have the close button. Moving on to the tutorials info class, we start with the launch link function. By the way, if you have functions or data that you are using a lot throughout your app, or you're using in different places in your app, it is a good idea to use dependency injection. I do have a video which will pop up on a card right now where I used dependency injection. That was a full stack app, and in it I used the getx package for dependency injection. So check that out if you're interested in that. So this card is, or rather this info section is similar to the info section we had on specialization. So it's just a bunch of selectable text widgets that a site user can copy if they want to. And these selectable text widgets give more information, about why I teach and why I use YouTube to teach. And also inviting you to check out my YouTube channel, which if you're watching this video, thank you so much for passing by. I hope you're finding value so far in this video. If you are, be sure to subscribe. And then below the subscription text, we will have text that is center aligned that says visit the channel. And then below that, we will have our button for visiting YouTube. We will put it inside a container with a width of 80 pixels. And for the decoration, we'll have a box decoration property, giving it rounded corners with a 10 pixel radius. And then we'll have a box shadow with a somehow transparent. You can see from the 0x55 that it is pretty transparent. So we have a shadow red that is transparent. Then the offset will be from direction. The first property is the angle in radians from the x-axis. And then 30 is the distance of the offset. Blur radius will be 10, just to give it that nice blur. Then we'll have an inkwell as the child of this container with our YouTube button. And when pressed, it launches the YouTube channel link. So let's go to our homepage and get this tutorials section in our wrap widget. So for that, again, constraint box with a maximum width of 500 pixels. The child will be the tutorials card, and then let's go ahead and hot reload this up and see what we have so far. So there it is. There is the tutorials card. We're able to go to YouTube. We're able to go to the YouTube channel straight from there. Moving on to the last section, which is the services section, where I talk about the services that I offer, which if you are new here, I do app development and I do coaching. So whichever of these two services you need, please be sure to reach out to me on info@TheFlutterCoach.com. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how I can sort out your needs. So we'll have the services card class first inside this file. This card is exactly like the other cards. So whatever you saw on the other cards is exactly what you will see in this card, except of course the text, which will be selectable in nature, just like the others of course, but the content will be teaching and website and app development. The theme will be the title medium theme inside the theme that we created in the beginning of this video. And this time, instead of an image, we'll have a large icon, which is the work history icon. The size will be 70 pixels. So you'll have a large icon at the center of, or in the center of this card. Then below that, sized box again for vertical spacing, 30 pixels. And then an elevated button that says services offered with the icon that, you know, has that arrow that points downwards. And when pressed, we will show a dialog, right? Because we want to give all this information in a dialog, just like we did with the other cards. So maximum width will be 700 pixels, and the child of this constraint box, which is the child of the dialog, will be a stack widget that has also a single child scroll view, just to make sure if we have a lot of information, we are able to scroll through, or if our screen device is really, really narrow. But in this case, since we have little information, I don't think we'll get to the point of scrolling. But yeah, for your use case, if you do have a lot of information, then that will help you out with the scrolling issue. On top of that, of course, we'll have a close button. And now let's move on to the services info class, which will be a stateless widget. We will have a function, which is the launch email function. This is just like the launch email function we created in the hero section. Again, if in your use case you have a lot of these functions that you're using all over the place, in this case, I only use this function twice, so did not see the need of having to set up dependency injection in this app. But in your case, if that is necessary, remember to check out my full stack video, which was a memo app video, and there you'll see how to go about dependency injection. Right, so at the top of this info section, we'll have a title, which is services, then a divider, which is that line, that horizontal line that's in the other cards you have seen separating the title and the content. And the first piece of quote unquote content is a question that says, do you need a website or an app developed? Do you? Now I'm asking you as my viewer, do you need a website or an app developed? Well, you can either just go ahead, do it yourself, DIY, or in some cases, reach out to someone to do it for you if you need to. In this case, be sure to reach out to me. Then we have, of course, a question on teaching. Do you need teaching? If you do, then there is an email button right here that says email. And when pressed, it shows a dialog, which is this time an alert dialog, just like we had in the other email button in the hero section. And in it, we just display the email address itself, info@thefluttercoach.com, in a selectable text widget, just in case someone prefers to copy it and use it elsewhere. But below that, we'll have two buttons, one that says go, and when pressed, it launches the email through the default email application on the device, and another one that says cancel, and that closes the dialog. So that's it for the services file. Let's go to homepage and get the services card inside the wrap widget. So again, inside a constraint box with a maximum width of 500 pixels, child will be the services card widget. So let's hot reload and see. And there you have it. There's the services card. You can read more information in the dialog. You can copy the email address if you want to. You can go to the email address, which is in my case launching Outlook, which I never use. I just don't know why. It's just so much easier for me to go through Chrome. But anyway, that is the section. So let's have a little all rights reserved section at the bottom. So we're going to have this inside a padding widget with a symmetric vertical padding. So that's top and bottom padding of 30 pixels. The content will be selectable text that says the Flutter Coach, copyright 2024, all rights reserved, and the style of this text will be white. So we do a quick hot reload there, and you can see the text at the bottom. And there is our site. There is our web app website. You can see what happens when we resize the window. The wrap widget does its work excellently. So let's go ahead and host this in Firebase. So I have logged into my Firebase, which is based on my Gmail account. We're going to create a new project, call it TFC Portfolio Website, or the Flutter Coach. We'll enable Google Analytics, which is enabled by default anyway. We'll use the default account for Firebase, which is created by default anyway. And then we create our new project. So your Firebase project is ready. Great. So this is the project page. We don't have to change anything here. This is what it looks like though, in case you're curious. So what we need to do is build this app for web, and then send it off to Firebase. So first thing we do in the terminal is flutter clean to get rid of any build artifacts that we may have had. And then flutter build web, which builds our application for the web. And if we go off to our build folder /web, you can see that we have all our files for the web. So first thing, we check if we are logged into Firebase using the Firebase login command. If you are not, please do login. Then Firebase init to initialize. Y for yes. We want to configure files for Firebase hosting and optional GitHub deploys. We want to use an existing project, and you can see our new project there in the list. Our public directory will be the build/web directory. Single page, yes. GitHub, no. Overwrite index.html, no. So once we have initialized that, Firebase deploy is the command that we use to deploy to Firebase. That's it. There is now our URL for our new website. Let's go ahead and key that in to our browser. And now we have our website live. If you visit this from your end, you should be able to see just what we are seeing here on screen. We're able to open our email application from here. We're able to go to the YouTube channel from here as well. Let's just make sure all the links work. Yes, the YouTube link does work. The email link also does work from the website. So yeah, that's how you build a portfolio website in Flutter. Thank you so much for hanging out with me to the end of this video. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel if you have enjoyed this video. That is, if you haven't subscribed already, and give this video a thumbs up as well. See you in the next one.